Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and today we're going to do something fun. We are going to make beer soap. I like to do this every year. I love beer soap for many reasons. First of all, it has a great label appeal. If you are marketing and selling your soap, beer soap is a winner. It's just great. But it actually has some very practical reasons why people love beer soap. So I just Googled this. So I'm going to read to you straight from Google some of the what they say are benefits of beer soap. Now this is just, Google opinion here, so I'm not making any claims. It's a bar of soap. It's going to get you clean. It's going to lather, all the things that soap does. But why do you want to add beer to your soap? Label appeal 1. Here's number 2, 3, 4, all the benefits. Let me read them. So it has beer soap benefits, provide deep hydration, soft, smooth feel due to the vitamins and amino acids found in the hops and the yeast that are in beer. So it moisturizes and hydrates. The ingredients in beer, especially its hops and yeast, contain vitamins and minerals that deeply hydrate and nourish the skin. It can soothe irritation. Hops contain anti-inflammatory properties that can help calm and soothe irritated skin and reduce redness. Improves skin health. Beer is rich in vitamins B and antioxidants, which can improve overall skin health and give a more radiant appearance. Well, that sounds good to me. I'll take it. Soften skin. Amino acids in the hops help soften skin, leaving it supple and smooth, and goes on and on. So those are Google claims. I am not saying that if you make the soap, it will do all those things. But beer is an awesome additive, and the other thing that beer will do in your soap is be a lather booster. My beer soaps are some of my biggest, bubbliest bars that I make, and I love that. So I still need to go to the store and pick out my beers. I have a Kroger here where I live that you can grab a little 6-pack box and fill it with different beers, and I want to get a couple of really different ones. In October here, I want an Oktoberfest beer. Every year I make a Guinness beer soap. I just have my regulars, so I need to go to the store and buy my beer. And so I will walk you through exactly how I add beer to soap. And there are a couple different ways to do it. So this is just how I like to do it, what I'm going to show in the video today. But that doesn't mean if you do it a different way, it's wrong. Some people will take their beer, carbonation and all, and add it to their soap batter after they get a nice trace and have beautiful luck with that. That's just how they do it, and it works for them. I like a lot of beer in my soap, and so adding it at trace would mean I would have to be working with a super steep water discount, and if you want to add colors or layers, it gets complicated for me. So I like to simmer my beer down and get the carbonation worked out and the alcohol kind of steamed off. That's how I like to work with beer. So, and people have asked me, well, don't you lose the benefits? No. If you steam off the alcohol and the carbonation, the hops and the yeast are still in there. So you're not losing any of the skin benefits by losing the carbonation and the alcohol. So just saying, for ingredients, it still has the same ingredients in there. But we'll talk about that as we get to it. I got to go buy my beer. And then we'll come back and we'll go over the game plan, and I'll show you the beer that I'm using in today's video. And I'll probably make a different beer soap, maybe use a different batter recipe, and show you that you don't need the cold process recipe I'm using today. I'll be sharing, but you could use a different cold process recipe to make your beer soap. So super flexible, lots of benefits. Let me go buy some beer and come back, and let's make some October inspired beer soap. And we are back. It's time to prep our beer for soap making. And here is the first beer I've chosen, Voodoo Ranger. And the reason I picked it is the Voodoo name. My husband is a retired F-18 pilot, and his call sign was Voodoo because our last name is Dahl, D-A-H-L. And he had a couple, when he was a young pilot going through, they kind of do the hazing in the Marine Corps. They're pretty rough on each other in a brotherly sort of way. But with our last name being Dahl, they were going to call him Barbie or Cupie, and finally they decided on Voodoo. So I saw this Voodoo Ranger. That's the beer we're going to use today. And before we get it, well, let me go ahead and pour it in my saucepan here. What I like to do for my beer prep is get it up to a nice simmer and just let it steam off all the alcohol and carbonation. So I'm just going to pour it aggressively in here. I want all those bubbles to work out. It's pretty bubbly. This is a hazy, juicy haze IPA. I don't know. You can use a Belgian beer, a Guinness, a light beer, any beer will do. I just think they're so funny, and there's so many to choose from. I get really intimidated looking at the aisle, but here we go. So as this heats up, see all that carbonation, letting that work out. Let's talk about the fragrance I'm going to use today. So this being fall time, we're doing the beer soap. I'm thinking all things sort of pumpkin-y, fall type. And so I have this pumpkin cider from Wholesale Supplies Plus, and this smells wonderful. It does get a very faint, it fades out a little bit in cold process soap, but I've soaped with it before, and I do like it in soap. And it behaves well. It will tan the colors out a little. We're not going to get a bright white with this, a little discoloration, but not bad. So with that in mind, here's the colors. I want to do a swirl, and I'm going to use this tangerine mica here. And because it's going to discolor a little, it will go from this really vibrant orange to a more pumpkin-y orange. And then I'm going to use my magic mushroom. And this is sort of a rusty brown color. And I thought those would be really pretty as a swirl in the body of this soap. So that's the fragrance. Here we're working all this good stuff, bubbles out. Bringing this up to a simmer, and then once I feel like all the carbonation is out of it and the alcohol has steamed off, I'm going to go ahead and measure this out and see how much liquid we have left. I will top it off with water and get it cooling down before we add the lye. I want this to be nice and cool. This is so this is a 12-ounce can, and after this gets done simmering, I'll weigh it again for you, and then we can decide how much water we need to add. I need 10 ounces of liquid. So if this boils down to 10 ounces, that would be perfect, but I think it's going to go a little lower. There's only one way to find out. We've got to get to it here. All right, I just poured this off. We started with 12 ounces of beer. I now have 8.9 ounces of beer, and I need to bring this up to 10 ounces of fluid. So I'm going to throw a couple of ice cubes in here and just set it off to the side and let it finish cooling down. All right, so I've got my beer and a little bit of water, so we have 10 ounces of liquid here. I'm going to throw in my silk fibers, and I like to add silk because it adds a silky feel to the lather and a sheen to the bar. This is totally optional, and it has no weight, just a pinch of silk. Again, it's just I have the silk, so I'm using it. Totally optional. You can leave the silk out if you don't like it. And here is my lye, sodium hydroxide. So I have 5.1 ounces of lye, or 145 grams, and again, I have 286 grams, or 10 ounces of liquid. So I'm going to add this in very slowly, just to make sure we don't have anything, exciting happening here. I've had that before. If you've seen my honey video, when I made a honey lye solution, yeah, that was exciting. Don't want that to happen again. So just adding the sodium hydroxide in slowly, a little bit at a time. Stir it till it dissolves and keep going to that. And even in an ice bath, as hot as this gets, those silk fibers are already melted in here. So yeah, lye solution is not something to mess around with. It gets very hot, so you want to wear your protective gear and not have little people or pets around. So just use all your good common sense safety precautions. All right, we are back to put my soap additives in the oils here, and it's the next day for me. I got busy doing other things, so I just walked away from the beer lye solution to let it cool, and I did have to warm these up a little. I just took the temperature. My oils are about 90 degrees, and my lye solution is about 80 degrees, and I'm very comfortable soaping with those temperatures. So soap additives, we're going to add some colloidal oats and some kaolin clay, just because I love it, and I think oats go with beer really well too. So I have a 2 tablespoon scoop here, and I'm doing it about half full, so that's about 1 tablespoon. Dry ingredient additives, you can go from 1 teaspoon up to a tablespoon per pound is a loosey-goosey. You can go more with the clay. You can add a ton of clay. So it is a very flexible amount. I wouldn't, overdo it, but a little bit is wonderful. So here's the clay. I'm going to do about a tablespoon and a half of clay. I love it. The clay lends a little slippy feel to the lather in the soap, and I think clays are great for your skin, so that's why I put them in there. Now I'm going to blend those in and let them kind of absorb into the oils, and then we'll get moving on with our beer lye solution. All right, our oils are ready. Here is our beer lye solution, and that is exactly what I wanted it to be, nice and cool. And so let me show you, I want to do a hanger swirl with these colors because I think that's going to be beautiful. So here is my hanger tool, which is just a gear tie. I'll leave a link down below. I got it off Amazon. Super inexpensive, and it's flexible, so you can bend this to fit whatever size mold you're using. And I love those. Also, I pulled out, just because I have them, I'm not sure if I'm going to put these down on top. I have these little sugar leaves and sugar pearls. These are made out of sugar, so they're septic safe. They will just dissolve off your soap. Please don't eat them. But these little leaves are so fall looking, and this fragrance is very fall inspired. So these kind of, for me, I put these on top of beer soap. They look like bubbles, and I don't know. I'm just, if I feel inspired, I have these off to the side. I may or may not use them. Don't hold me to it, but they're there in case I feel inspired. All right, all that being said, let's get our lye solution in here. Just pour slowly, and I'm going to blend this up to a nice light trace, which means all of the lye and all the oils have incorporated and they're staying together. You have emulsion, which means they're not going to separate at all, and trace is when it starts to thicken up like a loose pudding texture. So the color change here is not the fragrance doing its thing. This is just the beer because it's dark, and the sugars in the beer working with the lye. You have like a little color morph like this, but it should bounce back. But with the fragrance being discoloring, it might stay this sort of beigey color, which I'm not mad at. That's very pretty. So again, emulsion, you stop blending, take a look, and if you see oil rising to the top, then you don't have a complete emulsion. You just stir it a little bit more. I don't turn my blender on. Can you hear that? I don't turn it on all the time. I stir and pulse. And that's how I kind of get to an eyeball on it. And then you can tell if things are going to go fast or slow. It just sort of helps you gauge where your soap is at. And we definitely have emulsion, so I'm going to split off my colors. We are back. It's the next day. And I think that looks so pretty and fall-like. It's giving me all the fall vibes. It smells good today. I can smell this. We did go through gel phase last night. I put this on my heating pad, put a cooler over the top, so it heated up nice. Let's get it out of the mold and see how those swirls came out on the inside. Are back with the lovely Olga, and let's get into here. I cannot wait to see what we've got going on. The colors on top are a little muted, a little more muted than I was expecting, but you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So let's get this going through the cutter. And the little sugar pearls will just pop off when the wires hit them. Hopefully they won't drag through and cause marks on the inside. It's nice and firm today. All right, let's see what we've got. Ooh, pretty, very muted. And you can see the little rim around the outside here, so that is the discoloration. This is probably what it's going to end up looking like. On the inside, that kind of yellow cast will turn into this beige. Not a bad thing, though. I think that's really lovely. All right, let's see how these swirls come out. I am so surprised at how light and faint those swirls are. That is a surprise to me. Pretty and wispy, but a surprise nonetheless. So the darker one is the magic mushroom, and then the very light orange is the tangerine. Color me surprised here. A little bit more there. They're still beautiful. And I said that the fragrance was light, so that it might fade out a little bit. Today, it is a very nice, strong, present fragrance. Sometimes when you have, this has like a note of cinnamon in there. There's a little spice to the pumpkin cider, and sometimes those have lower usage rate. This fragrance was a usage rate of 3%. So always check the usage rate of the fragrance you're using. But today, it's very present. I smell it, and that is fantastic. There we go. We're getting a few more swirls now. I'm loving it. It's very nice. Not a super flashy bar, but a good one nonetheless. And again, with the beer, this is going to lather like a dream. Also, if you are a regular viewer of mine, you know that I tend to like to put sugar in my lye water as a lather booster. I did not put sugar in here because the beer will take care of that for me. So no sugar in here, but we're still going to get a fabulous lather. I love it. Well, this was a fun soap to make with my Voodoo Ranger beer. I think my husband's going to get a big kick out of that. And next beer soap I make, the next video, probably not next week, but in 2 weeks, we'll do a different recipe. The recipe for the cold process soap that I used today, I've used several times before. It's going to be listed down in the description box. You can find it down there. It's a really good lard recipe with cocoa butter, and I just love it. But my next beer soap, let's do a different recipe, maybe even a brand new recipe. So look for that one coming up in the future. I love these. I'm going to wait a few hours before I come in and bevel and stamp and do all my things. And I thank you for joining me today. And I hope you have a wonderful day.